Things are going to start happening to me now.
I think Tyler is amazing.
And I'm a fan of this show. I've watched several episodes.
Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Tyler. You stink, Tyler.
Never promise crazy a baby.
Oh, I like that. That's a cool idea.
Are either of you homosexuals?
I go both ways. What do you think?
You mean like flaming or?
No, we're not homosexual, but we are willing to learn.
But I do wonder for others, in other cases, whether libertarianism today is just an excuse for many on the right to act selfishly.
Look at me. And then some fat asses in Washington started having opinions. The Olympic Committee started having opinions. You bitch, I know you. You started writing your opinions.
And it just makes me wonder, you're dead, bitch. You know, why are you doing this to this poor guy?
I don't care. I'm a libertarian. What I'm getting is...
Did you vote for Joe Jorgensen or Trump?
Who?
Joe Jorgensen. That was the perfect answer. Thank you.
Welcome. It's Tyler, y'all. We have anybody in the chat yet? LPR morning edition. Is this going to be a thing? I don't know. There's some. Where's the chat? No one's in the chat yet. There's some reasons for doing this. My wife is usually a work from home person, and where is the chat? Okay, I think we're here. Let's do this. LFG. There we go. The host is in here saying LFG, and did it put it on the screen? I don't know. I'm having some issues. Let's go. There we go. It's not putting up. All right. Tyler Yonke, we're going to try this from, I'm just trying to do some things from the office this morning. I came in really early at 7 a.m. here. We got up early. My wife has been working from home for years. Now the office, they want him to come in. So she's getting in and getting up and doing it early. And I thought, you know what, maybe I'll just join. I'll get up the same time. I'll come in here early. I'll get some things done. And so far, so far it's fine. I'm not sure what the deal is. Let's try this. Compact, small. Oh, it's on the screen. I get it. It's on the screen. All right. Well, anyway, hopefully we'll get some of you guys in here coming into the show and checking this out. And what we'll do today, it's going to be, we're going to talk about a few things: cease and desist, some legal shit going on, and Trump with Massie, Trump with Joe Kent, and I labeled it cease and divorce. Okay, and with that, we're going to talk about divorce, and is it legit to go after someone who's no, so Trump's been divorced, and is that different than remarrying after your spouse has been killed? Right? We'll get into some of that. I was just watching this lawyer, doing a show about Fitzsimmons. It's a murder, or not murder. It's a assault with a deadly weapon trial in Massachusetts, and it's she's a cop, husband or fiance. She have a baby out of wedlock. Okay, let's talk about that. He gets a restraining order on her, and the cops come there, take the baby, take all her guns, and she claims put a gun to her head. No cop thought that she was going to shoot him, so he shoots her. No one's dead. Now she's on trial. Now she's not on trial for attempted murder of herself, right? And done. Okay, you know what? Let's start off with cease and desist. I'm trying to get used to using this. Let's play this first. I do want to play this. This is Ben Shapiro. Hang on, Ben. We'll just start out with a nice and easy Ben Shapiro. New scene. Let's try this one. I'm sorry, I'm having all kinds of trouble.
You should take into account the things they say will happen that do not even come close to happening. Okay, fine. So if President Trump acts, and by acting, again, we are not talking about a full-scale, on-the-ground, boots-on-the-ground invasion of Iran, full-scale regime change, nation building. No one's talking about that. And I want to point out again, people are lying to you about this. They are lying. Many of them are lying because they believe this is what's going to happen.
Okay. I'm back. This is a shit show. Trying to take this on. So I'm not a fan of using the Restream app itself. I like to use my OBS. I'm not using it this morning. That's an interesting. Notice him. It's always moving the ball because we're going to play some Joe Kent, a few clips, just a minor ones. I listened to his interview with Mark Levin. It was a shit show, but I think later on this week I'll have more clips of all of it. It's only a 35-minute post that Mark Levin put up there. The first 15 minutes are just him. As he kept saying, these are the facts of the case. And he's just throwing out like CNN articles, all this, basically it's hearsay and conjecture and leaks about Joe Kent. And then he brings Joe Kent on and he just talks over him and interrupts him the whole time. I can't hear you. Slow down. It's like, and then goes to commercial. It's pretty sad and pathetic, but it's what we come to expect from someone like him. So, it's what it is. Okay, let's start in here with this Project Constitution. Evidently, this guy got I do not like the way that this is situated here. This guy got a cease and desist. So we'll walk through it here, and some other ones from TPUSA. Why is TPUSA sending me legal cease and desist letters? They are back to trying to threaten lawfare to silence journalists. They can't answer the questions, so they've sent their lawyers. I just received a formal cease and desist from South Bank Legal on behalf of Erica Kirk, TPUSA, demanding I delete my post and apologize for defamation. My response is simple. I'm not backing down. The facts. Retraction. Regarding the DOJ recording, I have already issued a public correction and apology. Now, this was a recording, if you don't know or remember. Hey, hey now? Howdy, Tyler. Good morning. This was a public recording that they had of the Epstein file dump. And with that dump, there was a recording of some chick on there, and they said, trying to get girls for Epstein. And they're like, this is Erica Kirk. And, people were like, holy crap, it sounds like her. But then I guess it was easily debunked, which they did so. And this guy put a retraction on that. The preservation trap. Their own letter demands I preserve all evidence to prevent the spoliation of evidence. I cannot delete my posts, even if I wanted to. They are now part of official legal record. The gift of discovery. If TPUSA wants to take me to court, bring it. I welcome the discovery process. It will finally give me legal power to subpoena the documents and answers Erica Kirk has been hiding from the public. To Erica and TPUSA, thank you for the direct line of communication. I will be using the contact info provided by your counsel to ask the legitimate questions your claim you want to answer. The truth doesn't need a lawyer, only lies do. So here's, I would like to, where's this page 4 of 4? Where's page 1 of 1? There it is. We represent Erica Kirk, CEO of Turning Point USA and TPUSA itself. We are represented by an attorney. Please provide this letter to your attorney as soon as possible, if you are represented. You have used your X account, Project Constitution, to make numerous false and defamatory statements about Mrs. Kirk and TPUSA since Charlie Kirk's murder. We demand that you immediately retract these false and defamatory statements, issue a full and public apology, and cease and desist from making these or similar false or damaging statements in the future. Mrs. Kirk, TPUSA, welcome vigorous and open debate and honest questions. However, there is no place for publicly repeating patently false statements that injure another person's reputation. Such statements are what the law categorizes as defamation. Under the law, defamation is a published false statement that impeaches a person's honesty, integrity, virtue, or reputation. In certain cases, a party who has been defamed may recover substantial damages, even without proof of special damages. And even where a party must prove special damages, these can be significant. Those are if it's defamation per se. Also, we have our man who's going to do, Jose says, sup, what, hey, say what now? I just say, Jose, I'm not encroaching on your show. Just doing an early one here. I imagine you're going to do it later. Everyone, when you're done here, go check out his show, okay? To be fair, that dude does wild and defamation is BS. That dude definitely be defaming them. I'm not at all pushing back on that. I'm going to talk about the cease and desist, the pros and cons of it, of what it's even to. You're right. This guy, and there's several other ones out there that I think overstep. I think Candace is close to that. She needs to be more precise and specific. With her audience, I didn't even know if I would be going down this route. I mean, she's opening herself up. I don't think they're legit necessarily, all of them. And we're going to talk about this. I was just going to say here, it's defamation per se. There's defamation per quad, defamation per se. Defamation per se is on its face, this is defamatory. That's if you're saying that someone has been diddling kids, contracted a sexual disease, just what you can imagine, that just you saying it in itself is defamation per se. And those you don't need to prove damages. Okay. Killing your husband, I don't know if that's defamation per se, but it might be close. Here are many statements you have made publicly on your Project Constitution X account about Mrs. Kirk and TPUSA qualify as defamation. They're demonstrably false, and they clearly tend to harm Mrs. Kirk and TPUSA's reputation. Indeed, they have caused tremendous damage to Mrs. Kirk, including, if you think that she's had damage done to her, maybe you can say that due to the fact that, no one's believing her now. I mean, for a lot of this. But I think she's done a lot of damage herself. I mean, you can't have fireworks coming out of your ass, going up on stage and saying this is how grieving widows act. It's a little hyperbole, okay, for the legal people out there. Threats of violence being directed toward certain individuals at TPUSA. Okay, that's on you. I address some of the most egregious defamatory statements you have made below. False statement alleging that Erica Kirk was involved in the murder of Charlie Kirk. And numerous, I would not ever just outright say that. You're going to get some trouble. You have to be a little sneaky around the edges, so to speak, on how that works. Okay. And you can't just go out there and say that. Few examples. In December 21, 2025 post, you wrote that Erica Kirk is so cooked because we are so close to nailing her ass to the wall with being involved in this conspiracy to take out Charlie. Okay. That might be, is that opinion? I mean, there's opinion. And reply to Laura Loomer asking how anyone could defend Candace Owens' suggestion that Mrs. Kirk be dragged into a police precinct because of her alleged. Okay, so what about Laura Loomer lying? Because that would never, I don't believe that kind of stuff took place. The response was because there's overwhelming evidence that Mrs. Kirk did play a role in the murder. Wake up. Okay. February 18, 2026, reply to someone praising your work. You wrote, absolutely, Mrs. Kirk, may not ever face prison for killing Charlie, but I will keep exposing her in court. Yeah, come on, people. In February 2023, 2026, reply to Laura Loomer. Why are you replying to her? Block her if you find stuff, or mute her, screenshot her stuff and just post it. She's literally crazy person, and you can't say that's defamatory because she's been 5150'd. Laura Loomer and Mrs. Kirk, reply. I already said that. And Mrs. Kirk, you stated that Mrs. Kirk participated in her husband's murder and cover up. Okay, this goes on. False statements alleging that Mrs. Kirk was involved in sex trafficking. Okay. I mean, I think people take, this is the problem with Candace Owens, is she'll put some things out there and she's pulling on strings, and those strings go to some wild shit, and which is perfectly fine. You've got to be careful with pulling a string and saying, oh, look, the more I investigate this, something that keeps coming up is child trafficking. It's just odd that as data point, as Joe Kent would say, those are just data points, right? We're just looking at data points here. Okay. By the way, I was listening to Dave Smith yesterday, and I think he meant to say Joe Kirk, and he said Bobby Kelly, who's a comedian, like Bobby Kelly working in the White House. I was like, wait, what? I think I got that. Anyway, Joe Kent, he was saying about the stuff. These are data points. You can say, look, these are data points, and we can investigate more. But when you just outright say, oh, there's a data point, and now I'm going to come to a quote unquote logical conclusion that she's sex trafficking, that's a bit much. I think it's perfectly fine to pull these points and just to say it's the exact same thing as I rip on with Israel. Okay. the Zionists want to project a few things. Israel is a democracy. Israel is the most, the IDF is the most moral military. Okay. And when you push back against some of those things, it's not to necessarily say that they're better or, when I talk, let's go each one point by point. Most moral. Okay, that's just blatantly not true. Okay, so then you can point out some of these egregious concepts and military actions that they do, or even just push back and say these are just normal military actions that other ones are doing, but it's not the most moral. I'm not even saying that what you're, I do say it, but in this argument back, I wouldn't even say that what you're doing is, against the Geneva Convention. It's not necessarily immoral. But you're the one that's put yourself out there with this wacky standard. And then we go to the, they're a democracy. Okay, well, if they're a democracy, then let's talk about all the people in the West Bank. Let's talk about the right of return. Let's talk about the rights that some people have in the country that others don't have in the country. Okay, so when you, and fine, if you want that, then you can have that. Okay, if you want, you're the Zionists, the right to exist, and it's like, whoa, you want a Jewish state, but then you also try to tell us it's some sort of democracy. It's not an ethno state; it's some sort of democracy. I'm not saying that an ethno state is perfectly fine. If that's what you want, then take it and be fine. But stop acting like you're something else when you're not. It's kind of what the Eric Kirk shit is too here. It's like, okay, you're really not this, grieving widow, I'm sorry to say. And there is a difference between a grieving widow and there's some weirdness there, but she's the one that decided to entangle and commingle the public persona, the CEO of TPUSA, with being a grieving widow. She's still trying to do money grabs, money bombs, all these things. And so at some point you're just like, and I've broken this down before, of like anybody out there and their spouse decides to take over their business. Okay, I have a law firm here. My wife is not a lawyer. She literally could not. It's not legal for her to do so. So she couldn't, because you can't actually, you can't contract with partners that aren't lawyers. Okay, just so you know that. So. But even if it wasn't, let's say it was something else, whatever it is. I've talked about this, Mahomes, he gets killed or injured and his wife's going to take over a job. This is a CEO of a very, very large company, right? And it's one organization. It's also one that is very influential, because I've had arguments with when I don't care what happened to TPUSA, and people are like, oh, but he got Trump elected. Okay, he got Trump elected, which means that this is a very influential organization. What is this person's qualifications? And if you start to mock that, you're like, oh, she's a grieving widow. Okay. Okay, this just keeps going through more defamatory stuff. Response to specific false claims alleging that Erica was involved in the murder of Charlie Kirk. Okay, we already did that one. 2, where is the last one? While Mrs. Kirk and TPUSA have actionable and meritorious defamation claims against you, they do not desire litigation. Rather, their interest is in the truth and ensure the public record is accurate and falsehoods are retracted. They want the damage and harassment to stop. Please verify that you will publicly correct your false statements immediately. Please verify that you will remove all your false statements as well. Any refusal to correct or retract these defamatory statements in full after receiving this letter will further evidence of actual malice. Moreover, before you publish anything more about Mrs. Kirk at TPUSA, please contact me. I can provide you with accurate information to answer any legitimate questions you may have. Okay, well, they're not going to do that. To do otherwise would mean you are continuing to act recklessly and maliciously, especially if you publish further unsupported assertions about Mrs. Kirk. So Mrs. Kirk and TPUSA also expressly reserve their rights going forward because of the ongoing nature of this dispute and the potential for it to heighten. Please preserve all evidence potentially relevant to your false statements and take affirmative steps to ensure that no potentially relevant documents, data, communications, or evidence, whether physical or electronic, are deleted, lost, or destroyed. This preservation obligation extends to data on all personal cell phones. I need some coffee. Tablets encompasses paper documents, presentations, spreadsheets, emails, calendar, contact information, chat, any other form of digital communications and documents and failure to preserve steps can result in severe sanctions being imposed against you by the court for spoliation of evidence and potential evidence. Okay. So there you go. And Jose says, by the way, going to probably be an hour late. Don't know what you're doing, but you're welcome to join. Okay, I may do that. I do have a trial Friday, but if you want me to join up, send me a link in your in the DMs. There, Mr. Or yeah, DMs is the best way to do that. I know you have my text message, but that wouldn't necessarily be the best. Okay, so there you go. So what are the pros and the cons of issuing a cease and desist letter? Okay, specifically, I've just drafted a few of these up. A well-drafted letter can scare someone off who doesn't want legal trouble, especially if they didn't realize the legal risk. Okay, I think it's perfectly fine, especially for this one. I don't know that Candace has got, I know there's rumors out there that Candace received a cease and desist. I don't know that she actually has. And the reason I would say I don't know that she actually has, because I think while she still says a few things, I think she's actually much more careful on her actual statements. Okay, there's inference, implication, one's on the receiver, one's on the speaker about, certain things that can be said, or written. But I think she's been much more careful about all this than someone like this guy, just outright saying she's killed him, right? I don't believe she said that. I don't believe she said specifically Israel is involved, but there's a little bit like I'm questioning, which is fine. You may not think that is, but it is. Okay, so what are some parts of doing a well-drafted letter? There's low cost to litigation, no court involvement, can lead to immediate removal or retraction. Someone might be worried. I would actually, this Project Constitution person, possibly, especially if you get, because let's say for argument's sake that Erica Kirk did, take out Charlie Kirk, had something to do with it, right? Murder for hire, whatever it is. But then they go and they convict. Tyler Robinson for this. It's going to be very hard to get around that fact if she brings some defamation claims to this guy. She's going to be able to point out, I'm not the the guilty party here. Someone else has actually gone through a court of law, and they're actually the guilty person. There you go. Creates a record of notice. It puts the other party on notice that the statements are disputed, and you consider them defamatory. This can maybe come matter later if you sue, if you're writing the defamation, especially for showing malice, if they continue after the notice and supporting damage claims. Yeah, I do this often. They're not demand letters necessarily what I'm doing in, they kind of are. We already have a lawsuit going, okay? Opposing party is doing something. Maybe there's an issue with custody. Hey, you're not obeying the custody order as directed, or something about reimbursements of childcare costs or whatever it is, right? I will often send a letter to the opposing party or counsel, and often referencing the actual court order. Here's what's stated. Here's what your client's doing. Please have them correct their actions going forward. It does two things. Puts them, as this does here, puts them on notice. For me, it's like it gives them the opportunity to either do the right thing, or sets them up for you to bring something. Because you can bring then a contempt motion. You can bring other requests maybe to change custody due to the fact, and you've said they are now on notice. It's, as an example, contempt. If you bring a contempt motion for a violation of an order, you have to first show that there is an existing order in place. You then have to show that the party knew that this order was in place. And it's typically like, yeah, they were in court when it was ordered, it was, served on them or what have you. So you have to have, giving notice of that thing. And so then, for me, when I'm sending these little letters out, and they're mostly just, communications back and forth, they're not demands, but they essentially are the same idea, but we've already got a case going. It allows them to correct themselves and do the right thing, or I use that letter later on of showing that they haven't, and they continue to go on. Okay. Now, a lot of these issues that we present back and forth, they're little wobblers, as a sense. It's not so cut and dry. Like, hey, you're supposed to drop your child off at, I'm supposed to have them on these weeks, and you're not even doing that. I've had those. And then you get to court and you realize your client is lying about even showing up. Had that they're supposed to exchange the child at a McDonald's. He hadn't had the child for months. I've been like pushing this. Finally, it's going to happen. The court orders it to happen. He's like, she didn't show up. And she's like, no, I was there. She even had a receipt. And he's like, well, I was there too. I have a receipt. And I'm like, well, then please give me your receipt. I can't find it. I'm like, well, you literally you said you got a receipt to show up there. Well, I can't find it. I'm like, okay, tell you what I'm going to do then. Because he's like, I was there. I went through the drive-thru. I paid cash. I'm like, you specifically got something to get a receipt to show you were at he had pictures. Okay. But she's got text messages. She's like, I'm driving around here. I'm here. Where are you at? So I just said, fine. I contacted the McDonald's. That's where it was at. And I said, kid, do you have video surveillance during that time? They're like, yeah. And so I'm like, sweet. So I sent them a request for their video. Didn't even have to do a subpoena. And they're like, sure, we can do it. And I told my client, and then he's like, nah. And then he wanted to drop it. He wanted to drop everything. He didn't want me to go forward with that because he lied. Okay. If puts the other party on notice, as we talked about that. Opportunity to resolve informally. They don't want to resolve this informally. Mr. Project Constitution doesn't want to as well. The content removal, retraction, it signals that you are serious and willing to enforce your rights, which can deter further statements. Now, there's cons of sending a statement, a demand letter, a cease and desist as well. Some people react badly, double down, publish more statements, share the letter publicly, okay, which we have. This is called the Streisand effect, right? Trying to suppress something can actually amplify it. Yeah, so you're just drawing more attention to this issue. Now, in this case, I don't know that that's really a problem because you can't get more attention to it than what Candace is putting out there. It tips off the other side. It may reveal your legal theory too early. Give them time to delete evidence and prepare defenses. Now, this one says you got to preserve your evidence. I mean, you can say that all you want, but there's no protective notice out there. There's no lawsuit. You could fine. I'll just delete it, and then you're gonna have what are you gonna do? We just saw this with the case, the Corey Richards. She had deleted stuff. Now that's a problem. That's after the fact. Someone's dead, right? And are they doing this? Did Erica Kirk delete evidence off the phone once Charlie? There's problems out there. The best you can do really with that is to show in court, well, they deleted it, so they must have had something to hide with this. But really, what are you going to preserve? You're going to put it in all your text messages. I mean, come on. It's a civil case. No one's been killed here. They don't have a right necessarily to your phone as of yet. They can then obviously request stuff, but it's got to be specific to this issue. But that goes both ways. Okay. Risk of declaratory relief or anti-SLAPP response in California, especially under Civil Code Procedure 425.16. If your claim is weak, and this is in multiple states, we talked about the anti-SLAPP stuff as well. If your claim is weak or involves protected speech, the recipient might file an anti-SLAPP motion. If you sue or even preemptively seek declaratory relief, if you lose an anti-SLAPP motion, you may have to pay their attorney's fees. In Florida, I believe, you have to actually send notice somewhat like this to actually put them on notice before you even file your defamation. So this is a proper step, but it also there's retaliatory actions. It could undermine your position if poorly drafted. This didn't seem like a poorly drafted one. It was specific. They didn't even state the law that they're requesting. So if you're misstating the law, as an example, make unsupported threats. I didn't see that there was any, because you can see this too. Sometimes it's actually a threat, but the cease and desist. We had a legal assistant that was trying to draft one of these and brought it to my law partner's attention, and he's like, no, these are like threats. You're not going to be putting this out there. Side note, he put stuff out there himself later on pretending to be an attorney. Wacky case. Someday we'll get into it. Okay. Courts and opposing counsels will read it closely, and this can be used against you. Like I said, if there's threats, there's no immediate legal force. This is the part that it is. There's no immediate force. It's a lot of blustering. People online were like blowing back. Oh boy, this is big time. And it's like, no, it's great for billing. You get to go through and it's like, let's see all the statements out there. Are these true? No. You get it, and then put a letter out. It's pretty simple, right? It's nothing to it. And then you mail these letters out, and you've just done a few hours of billing, and it's pretty solid. The question is the attorney doing it on the hour basis, or are they doing this like a flat rate? I don't know. It's not binding. It does not compel compliance. The recipient can simply ignore it. Yeah. Be cautious. The dispute involves public issues. Anti-SLAPP. The other party is combative or litigious. There's a risk they will publicize and the dispute. You are planning to file suit quickly anyway. Yeah. So those are some issues with the cease and desist, and I'm not too concerned with them. I think it's interesting that the TPUSA crowd is at least trying to go after some of this. But yeah, that's I don't know that there's going to be much to it. Once again, this person, they can do. Now, once again, damages. What do you can't just go out there and say she's killed her husband. I mean, it's pretty rough. Although people do it all the time. Then there is the counter and what Mr. Project or Miss Project Constitution X actually claimed, which is the discovery. Discovery does open the door, and the problem is for this guy. I mean, do they want to go down that route? Do they really want that? It may ruin him financially, but he may get a lot of stuff out there. I think there's some things out there that they just don't want to know. I think the bigger problem is, and it's kind of telling, which is someone like this, he's a nobody, getting a lot of traction, but I mean, it's kind of stupid, what the stuff he's claiming. But if they go after someone more like Barron Coleman or Candace Owens, who are a little bit bigger and also seem to be a little bit more precise and measured in their comments, because you're going to have to be very specific, or otherwise it's, Johnny Depp was, she didn't mention him by name in saying that he had abused her, but it was obvious, who it was, right? So, about a person. Now, they're saying it directly about Erica, but are they saying that she, killed Charlie? I mean, there's some inference there. There's some weirdness, but I don't know if there's actual quotes with that. And so that's a little bit of a difference, you would say. Okay, let's see. What do I want to do here? I want to see if I could share the screen here. I'm just not a big fan of this. Once again, I'm still working on it. That one we went through. That one we went through. That's the one we want. Okay, let's get to President Trump and what he had to say here in a press conference the other day.
Mr. President, do you know whether Joe Kent was leaking?
Look, I'm not a fan of the guy.
Let me see if I don't have any way to boost this. The person said, do you know if Joe Kent was leaking?
If you look at, and you never cover this, if you look at his truths or whatever he went on, if it's X or truth, if you look at his truths or his statements, he was all for everything. All of a sudden, he wasn't. He was a man that I met.
First of all, so let's just break some of this down. First of all, was he leaking? I don't know, but he's changed his mind. Okay.
At Dover, he came in his
I met him
wife
at Dover.
Skill. He remarried fairly quickly.
Okay, that's the part that pissed me off. When we're going to break that down, did he remarry very quickly? Trump, who's had at least 3 wives, what are the time spans between his marriage and his divorce and remarriage? And that's a little bit different than your wife passing away and you have children. Okay, no offense there, but he also said something about Massie. Why does he take these positions on someone remarrying, and why is that a bad thing?
His wife was killed, and I felt badly for him. He ran for Congress, he lost.
He ran for Congress and he lost.
He ran for Congress again and he lost. I said,
lost twice.
He's a guy, nice guy, seemed like a very nice guy. I met him, he was pretty heartbroken, but I said, it's a shame. He ran for Congress twice. Call him up, give him a job in the White House. Smart. They gave him a job in the White House, and this is what he does to me.
Okay, let's break some of that down, because I think there's some important aspects here, and I think some truths by Trump, and also some just it's crazy how the same statement could be true, but also just crazy and wacko. Okay. First of all, about his wife. I mean, we'll break that down in a little bit because I got some timelines to look at. But he lost his election twice. Okay, so you're setting him up. You're trying to say this, essentially, that he wasn't qualified. Okay, he's a stupid guy. He couldn't even win an election. Okay, that is something that Trump brings up about people all the time. Not winning an election to me could be. I mean, there's sometimes you just had Dan Crenshaw lose. That's good. And then other times when people are losing, I'm just like, that's also good. In other words, like, what kind of psychopath are you to be running for Congress or Senate or public office anyway? You're not. It doesn't ingratiate yourself to me. So he's saying those things to put him up to show that he is incompetent or whatnot. Now he says he's smart, but it also says something about Trump and how he hires people. Okay, what does he just hire people in pretty high positions because they lose or because they're public persona, right? He's not just some random guy out there that was in the military and then we're bringing him in. This is someone who was kind of on the public stage because he was a combat veteran, 11 tours, decorated, wife dies, and it's kind of a big deal. And then he runs for office, and so he gets some notoriety from that. Now, that notoriety is what puts him on Trump's radar, and now he wants to have someone in his White House. Do you vet this person at all? This says one thing about Trump. One, was Joe Kent actually qualified? Trump doesn't know. He was just someone who had lost 2 times out there and his wife had died. That was his qualifications for Trump. And now I think when I listen to Joe Kent, I'm like, okay, I may not agree with everything he said, but I don't think he's a dumb guy. Trump did say he's smart. So it says something about the kind of and how the hiring process goes if you're going to get a spot in the Trump administration. Think about, we've said this before, Kash Patel, and then it goes to Kash Patel, which is Kash Patel is a complete idiot, Dan Bongino, Pam Bondi. Those are 3 primary ones that are out there in the public. Kash Patel wrote a book about Trump, essentially, and that Kash Patel was like the white knight, essentially killing people who weren't loyal to him. I mean, that's very loose interpretation of the book because I don't remember it all, but it was like some kid's book like that. But that's the idea. So Kash Patel's job is to, kind of come in and then weed out people like Laura Loomer to come in and to weed out people that aren't loyal. That's what he wants. He wants loyalty here. Why is this thing, this brightness? There we go. Sun's coming in the windows in the back because that's east back there. Sun's coming up. So the loyalty issue is problematic. That's what he is concerning himself with, not necessarily I want you loyal and I want you someone I see as a public person, not necessarily qualified. Now, Joe Kent happened to be qualified and he happened to have principles, so that goes against what he wants as well. And so this whole thing is not simply I want someone to come in and be a yes man, and I want them to have notoriety. Kash Patel, as an example, Dan Bongino, right? No morals, essentially, because they say the exact opposite of what they've said before. Now you're like, Tyler, Joe Kent said the exact opposite before what he said now. Did he? We actually have a clip here of, let's see if I can find it here. A clip here of him on Mark Levin's show. Let's see if I can find it. I think this is what it was. I think this is the one here. Let's try this one. Hang on, people. We're moving at the speed of lightning here. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's play this clip from the Levin show yesterday.
President Trump said no nuclear weapons, and then through official engagements through the Israelis, and then also the media echo chamber that wanted regime change in Iran, said no, we need to say that the Iranians can't.
What about the media echo chamber, your buddies who didn't want regime?
This isn't the one I was thinking of. He had asked Joe Kent. Sorry, I'll play that one a little bit later. He had asked Joe Kent about changing your mind. Hey, you were for the, you didn't push back, and he's like, well, that was the 12-day war, and I think it was Charlie Kirk. That's what it was. He's like Operation Hammer or whatever it was. he played a clip of Charlie Kirk saying, I trust the president. I'm good to go with this. I don't have any problems with this. And so, what do you think about that? Charlie Kirk said this. That's what Levin said. And so Joe Kent's response is like, well, that was a 12-day war. I was fine with that as well. He's like, well, what about, that was, no, but what did Charlie Kirk? And it's just like, my point is, I didn't have a problem with that. I agreed with what he said about the 12-day war. It's when we start doing this other stuff that there's an imminent threat and whatnot, that's what I have the problem. Now, Jim says, this is Trump going soft. He likes Kent. Perhaps. It's a little odd. I mean, I get what you're saying there, where but why does he have to do it this way? This is because I will say this about Kent going on all these shows. He does not take Trump on in a demeaning way. Okay. He sounds like someone who likes and adores him still. And I bet Joe Kent is not as anti-war as I am. So there's a lot of things we would still be disagreeing on. So, and I get that. And then, so Trump going easy on him, I don't know. Does he have to say these kind of things that he does? Let's go here as an example. He loves to say this kind of stuff like he did against Massie. Thomas Massie, sometimes referred to as Rand Paul Jr. because of the fact that he always votes against the Republican Party. Get married already? Boy, that was quick. No wonder the polls have him less than an 8% chance of winning an election. Anyway, have a great life, Thomas. His wife will soon find out that she's stuck with a loser. Okay. This did get community noted. It says Massie's first wife passed away in June of 2024, having been married for over 30 years and having 4 children together. He married Carolyn Grace Moffa, a former staff senator, on October 19, 2025. So a little over a year. Okay. Here is, we're going to have to do it this way. Here's another little tidbit you had here from Laura Loomer. Randa Massie, cause of death. Laura Loomer raises questions about Thomas Massie's wife, Candace Owens, can investigate. Now, we just talked about, let me go back here. We just talked about having the, I should pull those blinds here. Hang on. We just talked about Laura Loomer and other ones talking about Erica Kirk. Did she kill her husband, and how defamatory that is? And you have Laura Loomer, chiming in on she's a grieving widow. Okay, but then this is the kind of stuff that she will be part of, which is Laura Loomer, the conservative political activist, longtime Donald Trump ally or schlobnob, has backed the president's play after he slammed Republican lawmaker Thomas Massie. Trump's Truth Social post attacking Massie did not go well with many, since they believed that president crossing over the lines. In his post, the president questioned Massie's quick remarriage after his first wife passed away, and also claimed that his new wife would find out what it was like to be with a loser. Amid the criticism the post drew, Loomer jumped in to raise questions about the circumstances of his first wife's death. Massie, who married to Rhonda for 31 years, and they have 4 children and 3 grandchildren. She died in 2024 at the age of 51. Remembering his wife, Massie told people, "I still miss her every day." A year later, the Kentucky representative married the 36-year-old Carolyn Grace Moffa. What did Loomer say? Maybe real Candace Owens can investigate the death of Thomas Massie's wife and let us know if he was involved in her death. True crime series. Why was Rep. Massie allegedly dating another woman at the time of his wife's death? Okay, so was there proof that he was dating someone at the time of the death? And then there's a little bit of difference, and we should always, once again, I emphasize this with the Erica Kirk stuff, which is her coming into the public spotlight. Okay, she's got this TPUSA. It's a huge organization, and so a lot of these questions need to be raised about that. Did he kill his wife, Thomas Massie, just so he can bang this younger chick? Maybe. I mean, there's been more wacky things that would happen. It just seems a little odd that that's the case. I mean, someone would at least be looking into, I don't know. Massie's first wife passed away tragically. Let's keep going on here with this article. But the cause of death is not known. Her obituary does not even mention it, nor does the report suggest that they may have led to her demise. This led to conspiracy theories, but Massie took to social media to shut them down. He noted that she had not taken the COVID-19 shot since they were both seropositive at the time. They had become available. Massie had added, "Our house is very secure. Family was in the house the night she passed, and an autopsy has been conducted, and yet we do not have results. While the cause of death remains unknown, Massie put out a heart-touching post for Rhonda after her demise. Yesterday, my high school sweetheart, love of my life for 35 years, the mother of my 4 children, smartest, kindest woman I have ever knew, my beautiful and wise queen forever, Rhonda went to heaven." He'd say Massie has not responded to Trump's latest attack on Loomer's line of questioning. Yeah, so there you go. That's the kind of crap you get with some of these people. But let's take a look here at this is another report. There we go. Trump delivers shocking low blow to former official whose wife was killed in terrorist attack. Trump implied Monday that the former admin official who resigned last week over Iran war cheated on his late wife, who was killed in a terrorist attack. "Look, I'm not a fan of the guy," Trump told reporters Monday after Joe Kent, the former director of National Counterterrorism Center, who claimed the strike. And I want to go back here to what Jim said, that this is going soft. He likes Kent. How about he just worry about the war? I mean, I know this is a low blow for him, but if he was more consistent, if he was a little bit better at his job, come on. This is actually true. Like the video, peeps. Yeah, come on. Give me a little bit of help here. Views, likes, all that, subscribing. I just got allowed to have memberships through YouTube. It may be easier to do video memberships there. Still go to Substack, tyleryankee.substack.com. You can sign up for free over there. That's where you get a lot of notices and stuff. And I think maybe we can do some members. YouTube makes the platform and the memberships thing 99 cents to be a member there a month. And we can go from that. Look, I'm not a fan of the guy, told reporters, senator who claimed that the strikes in Iran were unjustified because the country was not an imminent threat to America. If you look at his truths or whatever he went on, Trump said at Kent's media post, he was all for everything. All of a sudden, he wasn't. Okay. Where Kent remarried his current wife, Heather Kaiser Kent, in 2023, 4 years after Shannon Kent's death. Trump then accused Kent of disloyalty, pointing out that he offered Kent a job in his administration okay, we know that. Instead of letting Kent live out life, Trump said he brilliantly let my people call him and offer him a job as security, essentially, at the White House. Trump slammed Kent's resignation letter, which was posted. Okay, I don't know what that says. That Trump actually said he cheated on his wife. Just said he married her too soon. Okay, but let's take a look then at some of these other. Let's go here. Okay, I asked Grok a few things here. I could do this. Maybe I can do that a little better. I asked Grok a few things here about Donald Trump's marriages. Marriage duration from Ivana, 1977 to 1990, about 13 years. Filings, she filed for divorce in late 1989 to early 1990. The divorce was granted on December 11, 1990. Who cares why? Finalized in March of 1991. Okay. Marla Maples. So he went from 1991 and then he gets remarried in 1993. That's 2 years. To Marla Maples. They were married for about 6 years. And then they separated in 1997 and finalized their divorce in 1999. Maples has described, okay, and then why am I not seeing Ivanka here? Why his newest one? They don't show that. Melania. That's the new one. Marla Maples to marriage to Melania. There we go. That divorce was finalized in 1999, and then he gets married in 2005. So he has 6 years there. Perfectly fine. My point is, it's not like and then there's all the whores and stuff that he was banging while his wife was. I mean, he has 3 wives. He probably has kids with all 3. He could. This is the joke. You can talk about someone like him, which is he could literally name all his kids the same name and then just call them by their last name if he wants to speak to each one individually. But Okay, let's take a look at Joe Kent. Joe Kent, he married in December 24, 2014, Christmas Eve. And then she died 4 years, 3 weeks later. She died, killed in January 16, 2019 at the age of 35. And then he married 2019. So then he remarries in 2023. So we've got 4+ years here. Look, he died 35 years old. She was 35, and he was probably similar age. And then he marries another U.S. veteran, to 2014 to 2019 and 2023 to the present. Now, Thomas Massie, August 28, 1993, 31 years until her death, multiple children. Kids were all at his new wedding, and then married October 19, 2025. Still married. I mean, I've never heard any reports of infidelity with Thomas Massie. So, you know, he's got that going for him. And Joe Kent, same thing. But, you know, this aspect of taking it on like that is just somewhat slimy. I think it's stupid. And, you know, if that's taking it easy on people, then so be it. Okay, let's play this clip here. This is one clip here from the Mark Levin interviewing Joe Kent. Like I said, it's 35 minutes. It took on 15 minutes was Mark Levin trying to lay out the facts, and they were supposition. They were just loose, you know, news stories. And you keep saying, well, these are just the facts. And I'm like, dude, you are so lame. You know, supposed attorney, but here you go.
President Trump said no nuclear weapons. And then through official engagements through the Israelis, and then also the media echo chamber that wanted regime change in Iran, said, no, we need to say that the Iranians can't.
What about the media echo chamber, your buddies who didn't want regime change in Iran? There's a lot of echo chambers out there, wouldn't you say?
It appears that your media echo chamber was much more successful.
No, it wasn't. I never lobbied the president. Hey, pay attention to me. I never lobbied the president. You guys keep putting that crap out there. I met with the president once at his request, and I said to the president, ready for this, Joe? I said, they're saying out there that I'm lobbying you. You know what he did? He laughed. You know what he said? Mark, I know where you stand. I watch your show on Saturday and Sunday. Anything I say here, pay attention. Anything I say here is what I would say. I did what?
You can lobby him by using the power of your show, the power of your
platform. Come on, brother. You're sounding almost ridiculous now. Now let's go on. I have a question.
Okay, so this is, I want to play the beginning here because you heard the end about him saying, you know, the media. Let's see what Joe Kent meant by this lobbying.
President Trump said no nuclear weapons, and then through official engagements through the Israelis, and then also the media echo chamber that wanted regime change in Iran, said no, we need to say that the Iranians can't.
What about the media echo chamber, your buddies who didn't want regime change in Iran? There's a lot of.
Okay, so my point on there is it starts out with media echo chamber, okay, and then he points it. He being Mark Lynn tries to point it. But what about your buddies? He's basically talking about Tucker, right? The media echo chamber. Fine, but then when he says, "Well, yeah, but you've done the same thing," he puts it to be like lobbying, like me going to the White House. But he also, in that same context, he knows where I stand. He watches my show. Yeah, because your show is lobbying this the whole time. This is the kind of crap it is. And as soon as Joe Kent gets him in, it was very frustrating because I wanted more of a discussion there and to give Joe Kent a time. And it would be an interruption. It was just nonstop with that. It was a bit heavy duty. We got just a few more clips here. We're going to play another one here of kind of another comment that Joe Kent makes here about this stuff. Let's actually speed this one up just a tad bit. 1.25, thanks.
Certainly. So I would say, yeah, my views did change. Being the director of the National Counterterrorism.
This is the one I wanted to play earlier, which was about changing of views. Sorry, can I do it this way? Sure, we'll try this one.
Senator is probably the most senior rank I've held in the government. Prior to that, I was an operational guy. I enlisted in the Army at age 18, worked my way up from being a private to being a sergeant first class, and then became a warrant officer. So most of my time was deployed downrange at the operational level. In the CIA, I was a paramilitary ops officer, again, fairly low level. So I viewed Israel as a tactically impressive intelligence service, tactically impressive military, and knew that we got intelligence from them. They were easy to work with in terms of like they speak English and they're very similar to us. In the region, there can be some challenging partners just with cultural differences in terms of like day-to-day functions. And so I kind of had that view. I'd say about halfway through the war on terror, I just started reading more broadly, like, hey, how the heck did we get to this place? Because post 9/11, I was a true believer. I thought we needed to basically go to war with, any place in the Middle East that, my government sent me. Halfway through or so, I got a little disillusioned and felt that we were lied to with Iraq. So I did look into and read a little bit about the Israeli lobby. Read the case that Merschmeyer and Maltz laid out as well. And so that was kind of in the back of my head. But in general, I still thought that they were like pretty decent partners. And look, I still to this day, I think that Israel can be a decent partner to America if we get our priorities straight. Coming into this role and being at the senior levels, and also before I was confirmed as the director of the National Counterterrorism Center, I had the opportunity and the honor of serving as D&I Gabbard's chief of staff, and I also led her beachhead team and landing team. So prior to the transition and during the transition, prior to her being confirmed, so I kind of got to do a lot of different things in ODNI. And
I just say here, I don't know that the Trumps, the Levins, did their due diligence on a lot of these people. But I say that because what I mean by him not being, full on neocon, right? But then I say that, but then you think about where Trump was, right? Before this last election, this wasn't where he was at. Matter of fact, the Mark Levins and whatnot, they were never Trumpers. Okay, so we had this breakdown. And then Tulsi Gabbard was literally selling shirts of like, no, don't bomb Iran. So Joe Kent then works for her. These are, RFK Jr. These are not your neocon style, although, RFK, comes on Dave Smith and has a few issues there with his support of Israel. So I say that they didn't do enough of their research. I think actually they knew enough about this guy and they knew where he pretty much, he might have been on it's an egg on the top of a chicken house, right? Where you have an A-frame, right? It's going to fall one side or the other. I mean, that's kind of where he was at. It looked like where he had been coming off of the pro, neocon, just taking. And there's difference. I don't know that a military person that says, hey, I'm going to go defend and fight for my country is necessarily a neocon. They're just like, I'm going to be out there and doing this. It's perfectly fine. When they start getting some real world experience, like he's talking about here, things can change.
And be a part of a lot of decisions being made. And the way I saw members of the Israeli government come in and deal with us at that senior level and the level of access that they had, especially in the lead up to the 12-day war, that opened up my eyes. And a lot of what, Merschmeyer and Maltz had said over the years was kind of like ringing in my ears at the amount of influence that they had. And then seeing the way that and I talk about this in my letter, especially in this last iteration of the war, where there was a concerted effort between members of the Israeli government, officially and unofficially, but then also echoed by the Israeli lobby here in America. And another thing I definitely have to hit on is running for Congress twice. I didn't take a ton of, I think I had like one or two donors who may have donated through AIPAC to my campaign, but going and having to talk to AIPAC donors, I realized how powerful they were. And I never fully said, like, I'll do whatever you guys say. So I never got a ton of money from them. But seeing it from the candidate side, just how much money could be available to you if you were willing to make those relationships was also eye-opening. Because again, had I not run for Congress and had to go talk to donors, and then had I not been at the most senior levels of government, I don't know if I would come to the position that I'm in right now. However, if you look at and I'm sure we'll get into this more, the public statements of like Marco Rubio and even President Trump saying that like, well, we had to go to war because the Israelis were. That tells you basically everything you need to know, even if you don't believe most of what I just said.
And that was his comment to Mark Levin, who then just says, yeah, but Trump is the one that makes the decisions. I'm like, okay, where you go. I want to play this one here because I think this is, and then we'll be basically done for the day. I appreciate you guys joining in on this morning. It's going to be my weekly episodic feature of Ted Cruz, and I should get a drop for it of something here, but basically of him just saying nonsense. And it goes with what Joe Kent goes into the belly of the beast and then sees how this Israel lobby it really pushes, and did not realize the power that it had and the actual influence. And then obviously you're seeing the side of it is if you don't like this foreign country's involvement, you get shit on. It was interesting that Mark Levin was trying to make him sound like some sort of anti-Semite without being too over the top, which he is online and with the interview, and Joe wasn't falling for it. He wasn't falling for it, so he couldn't come across too bad there. But anyway, let's play this kind of shit because this. Remember when you had the interview with Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz. Tucker was asking about Ukraine. He asked about Russia, and then he threw in Israel in there. And immediately Mark Clement says, "Oh, you're real obsessed with the Jews." And it's like, what are you talking about? I mentioned 3 countries, and one of them, they can all have Jews in them. And you are the one that brought up the Jews. It's pretty.
In the last 18 months, I've seen more anti-Semitism on the right than I have at any point in my life. And I think it is growing. You mentioned Tucker Carlson. I believe Tucker's the most dangerous.
Okay, so I have problems with this over and over and over when you say the stuff like this, especially an attorney to the skill level and of Ted Cruz. But Ted Cruz is not an honest broker. So this is why you get this, which is he will not ever define anti-Semitism, okay? And if you can't define it, then it's wide open. It's like that one Rabbi Barkley or whatever that was on with Candace Owens, where he's like, "Oh, it's what we decide it is, not you." It's like, whoa, this goes back to my my comparison to talking about Walter E. Williams with the Constitution, where he's like, well, if it's a living, breathing Constitution, how do you ever know what the rules are? You can't just start playing a poker game and then one person always gets to change the rules. That's what this motherfucker's doing here. Okay, he doesn't define what it is, and then they say stupid stuff like, well, Israel is being a Zionist. It means does Israel have a right to exist? And it's like, the people do, but not this nation. No, people need to come back and push about this. And I always say, well, Zionism means something completely different to someone like Ted Cruz than it does to someone in the West Bank that gets killed.
Demagogue in America. And he will believe Tucker's the most dangerous demagogue in America. And he is
remember when people were saying these kind of things about Charlie Kirk, and then he got assassinated, and then people like Ted Cruz said the assassination from the furry and his buddy happened because of name calling Charlie Kirk, stuff like this, right? When you dehumanize them, now there's no reason, like punch a Nazi. Well, it's a Nazi, so you don't really care about that. They don't have feelings. They're a Nazi. They're an evil person. So the most dangerous demagogue. What does that put a target on whose back here?
Tucker Carlson. I believe Tucker.
So you can talk about anti-Semitism, right? And the real issue of anti-Semitism should be, are Jews discriminated to the point where they're not into higher education, can't get jobs? We played that Finkelstein clip there before. Have we? Maybe we'll play that one sometime, where you're basically breaking down that there's no privilege. That there's no rights that they're being afforded, that they're not, being trapped or taken away. It's the privilege that they're not being afforded anymore. Okay, they're not put on a pedestal, and that's what your definition of anti-Semitism is. Interesting.
He's the most dangerous demagogue in America. And
yeah, to finish that point, so making comments about a group of people, or actually in most cases, making comments about a nation where some of these people live, is anti-Semitism, and how dare you? But I'm going to make comments about Tucker and say that he's the most evil person or most dangerous demagogue.
He is obsessed. He hates Israel.
There's nothing that he said that I could see that he hates Israel. Let's see what he says about Jews.
Is attacking Israel on a daily basis.
Israel. Okay.
He's attacking Jews on a.
Okay, he's attacking Jews on a daily basis. Once again, this is where my issue goes right back to the place of, no, but you say that Israel is a democracy, right? It's a flourishing thing for Arabs. So if I'm talking bad about Israel, I'm talking bad about Arabs, I'm talking bad about Jews, I'm talking bad about Christians, okay? But the problem is they know it's not a democracy, and they know it's a Jewish nation. Those other people are just window dressing over there. So when you talk about Israel, you are really talking about the Jews. So then it's not a democracy that you say.
On a daily basis. Anti-Semitism is a gateway. He's also said there's no one on planet Earth he hates more than Christian Zionists, and he's identified by name, me and Mike Huckabee, as the two people he hates the most. Right. He had Nick Fuentes, who is a open Nazi. And by the way,
he's not an open Nazi. I mean, these are defamatory statements. He might be, but I would say the commentary and whatnot doesn't prove.
I don't use the term Nazi lightly.
Yes, you do.
But Tucker is also
we should go back, because this is the most insane comment.
By the way, I don't use the term Nazi lightly. Tucker has also defended Mondami and defended Maduro. Tucker hates President Trump. He opposes everything about his foreign policy, and he's attacking President Trump on a daily basis.
This is bizarre. Tucker goes out of his way to still be nice and say nice things about President Trump. This is lunacy.
Now, he's too chicken to actually say that. So instead of saying that he's attacking Trump, he just has every clown who hates Trump on his show to attack his policies, but he won't actually say the name. In the last...
Okay, there you go, people. Just a consummate, wonderful person. Ted Cruz is just spews a bunch of bullshit. Okay, I think that's what we have for today. Let's see. Coffee Man's in here. Buy your coffee from Fox and Son. You sent me a DM, and I need to look at it. I don't know if it was at an issue with I don't remember what it was about. Kent was going after his political opponent for not supporting Israel on January 24th. Never forget, Kent worked for CIA. His job is to wrangle the new right from voting Dems. Yeah, there's some issue. Once again, what's that mean then? So I believe, I don't know if this is all correct. I know he worked for the CIA. Yes, there's problems there. I'm not out there like many, and I see this with the libertarian side. Kyle did something like this, which is he's a hero. I don't know that he's a hero, right? But if you take his positions honestly, and what he said there was, it sounds like it's morphing and changing due to his actual experience working in the White House, making a change. So could be true, could be not. It means this is an op. Well, not everything is an op. It's how about Trump? Trump is an op. He's working an op. He's changed his mind. He used to say no wars with Iran. Now we're doing it. What's the op? I mean, not everything can be an op, people, but maybe they can be. I don't know. Thanks for tuning in. Jim, why don't you contact me? Let's set up a time to come on the show soon. Tomorrow or tonight, I'm going to be on with Losercast. Go check that out with Leighton and Toad and Broseph, and I'm trying to remember the other guy's name. Then Wednesday, Thursday, maybe still an evening show. I have a trial on Friday, and then I'm heading up to the Northwest for a little bit. So we may not be around all the time for next week, but I appreciate you guys coming in. I need to figure out how to get this out. Okay, we will see you next week. Where is my outro? Where's my outro, folks? It's got to be... Okay, there we go.
Okay, I'm leaving now. Bye, guys.
But she's back.
And now.
Tyler, if you had any clout about you, if you had any knowledge of the real world of what happens, we walk into Tim Catt's studio, immediately there's 4 Jewish lawyers.
King of the Druids!
Oh, that's all we needed. A Jewish princess.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't expect the normies like Tyler to understand these kind of things. He's just a podunk lawyer somewhere in rural California. He's an idiot, really.
Takes a tough man to make a tender forecast, Nick. And I guess that's me. Keep fucking that chicken.
This guy's, I wouldn't say he's full of shit, but I'd say he's stupid. Whatever, if you're in the comments, if you're in the chat now, I wouldn't pay attention to anything he says anyway. But
more or less, eat shit and die.
Don't ever come to the top left, sir. He will end you. Do you see what he just did to Tyler? Just fucking challenge this
Tyler's done.
Top is a maniac.
He can't even reply right now because he's crippled.
He's got nothing to say.
What are you talking about? I didn't say that. Why don't you argue with something I said, you dumb bastard?